She got a chance to warm this bad boy up a bit, huh?
Yeah.
It's, what is this thing? A Riton?
Riton, yeah.
Riton. Now,
really
I remember when I looked at that at first, it was pretty built kind of heavy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of the selling point, I think, is that the impact rating it has. But it's a stout scope, I know that. Nice and clear, too. The optics are clear. Nice.
And that's a 1 to 4?
1 to 4, yeah.
Yep.
Illuminated.
That's cool.
It has the ballistic reticle in it for 223 or 556.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Gonna warm her up.
Try it out.
Heck yeah, dude.
Make sure it's tight.
Howdy guys, Rex here. So in pursuit of creating some precision optics for all people, not just for rich guys, Riton Scopes has made a series of compact AR rifle scopes that are pretty darn tough and pretty decent quality considering the price point. And it's an outfit that is kind of unique. The configuration is a little bit different than other scopes I've seen. So it's something I wanted to do a review on and let you guys at least know it exists. Now the cool thing about Riton Scopes that a lot of people would appreciate is it's veteran owned. The guy also was law enforcement, federal law enforcement, Capitol Police, and he was at Ford Air Control in the Air Force. Actually a really nice guy, really squared away, intelligent fellow. Got to visit with him a little bit about his products and stuff, and I really picked his brain on trying to figure out what makes his rifle scopes have a different feel to them. Some folks complain about weight on a rifle scope, and I understand that preference to have a lightweight scope. However, in applications where you're really beating the crap out of an optic, I kind of prefer something that's maybe erring on the side of being a little too heavy duty. And that's why I kind of like this scope, is it feels pretty stout when you first pick it up in your hands. And when you look through it, it's definitely pretty clear. And so after picking his brain for a little bit, he finally told me some of the details. I can't give you exact specifications, but for example, the reason the scope's a little heavier is using high quality Japanese glass. It's all the glass they use is sourced from Japan. And they also do multi-coating on all the internal lenses, not just the external lenses. So right off the bat, you got a more decent quality glass, which sometimes can add to a little bit more weight. But tube size of the scope, the thickness, is like 30 to 40% thicker than pretty much all the competitors in that price range. And that's why it seems a bit more stout, because it actually is. But if you guys remember the gunship video we did a few months back, we got a lot of interesting commentaries on that one. We drove around in the absolute wilderness in the middle of nowhere in the Windows screensaver doing some shooting practice for moving vehicles. And as you can see in that little short clip, this is not a staged event. This is actually how we use our equipment up here. It's an everyday type tool. You throw it on the dashboard of the pickup. There's magazines up there. There's flashlights hidden in it. You throw your lunchbox up there right on top of the rifle. And for a rifle that's going to be used, we really put this thing through the paces in terms of just not being careful with it. And after its initial zero, we got it zeroed in at 100 yards. It does have a BDC reticle in it. It's calibrated to be kind of a hybrid between the M193s and the M855s, right in between those. A little bit more error towards the trajectory of the M855 round. That's the 62 grain green tip rounds that most people would probably use in a serious type situation or something. So the reticle is kind of geared for the little bit heavier bullets, but we got it zeroed with 55 grain bullets at 100 yards and used the rifle a lot. And I passed it off to some of the participants of the project to let them battle test it a little bit. And I said, hey man, put this thing through the test and kind of see if it can withstand it. And so that's what we did, and it took quite a few months, maybe even more than a year, I forget. I feel kind of bad, sometimes I do these rifle scope reviews, and they don't exactly get done right away because we actually take them out and use them a lot. So we really do like to verify. I mean, we actually shoot the things before we have an opinion on them. But at any rate, over the course of the last year approximately, we had a chance to thoroughly battle test this little critter, and after slamming it around, throwing it around, running around, we determined that the scope not only did not break, but throughout all of the mistreatment, it still held 0, which is good. And so if you're looking for a little scope that also, by the way, has an incredible warranty, this might actually be one of, if you look at all the details on these guys' warranty, it might be one of the best warranties in the industry. They don't refurbish stuff. They're not going to make you do a registration form or nothing like that. There's an unlimited lifetime warranty, and they will replace that thing within 48 hours. And the gentleman who owns the company, being a squared away individual that he is, will actually make sure that you're taken care of properly. Also, they do have a 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. They totally stand behind what they're making, and their attitude is very positive in terms of making sure that it's good. So that's one really cool thing about that, is the warranty. And also, if you're a veteran or if you're in law enforcement, they will give you a significant discount as well. And I'm not going to tell you how much it is because it's a lot, and I don't know if he wants me to tell you. But if you're one of them guys, definitely give them a call and ask for their veterans discount, and they'll get you guys squared away. So that's where his heart is for that deal. And after talking to him on the phone, I said, that's fine. I won't give it away too much, but I do have to mention that to get the point across that he's a pretty cool guy. So it's a 1:4 by 24 scope, pretty typical configuration. It's a little bit stout. It's really a hell of a scope for the price point, in my opinion, being like right around $400, maybe a little less. It's actually built like a tank, and the clarity of it is actually really good. They use the Japanese glass. It's all sourced from Japan. So it's actually pretty good quality stuff. The final assembly point of the scope actually is China, and they're not scared to say that. They put it right on the optic. But all the glass is outsourced to the higher quality outfits in Japan. And even if you look at American scope companies, or some people say American scope manufacturers, they manufacture their scopes in Asia. And the best place in Asia to have your stuff manufactured still is Japan. They make the best stuff. Unless you go to Europe, then you got a whole nother category of stuff going on. But the Japanese glass is pretty good, and you will notice that the coating is not just on the outside of the lenses. A lot of outfits will just put the coating on the outside surfaces, you know, for making the light transmission better. But these guys do it on all the internal lenses, the whole entire stack. And I think it's like 99.5% light transmission per lens. And so when you add it up, it's pretty darn clear. And when you're doing comparative analysis with other scopes in that price range, that is one of the categories where it did excel, was in terms of clarity. It's very clear. If you have to give it a few different points in terms of where it does good at, I'd say clarity and heavy dutiness. The reticle, in my opinion, is very utilitarian. It's very simple and straightforward. It's nothing like super fancy. I think there's better reticles if you want to utilize your medium ranges and stuff like that. But for getting it done at point blank range, and even starting to kiss at that medium range, you know, stuff, maybe a little bit beyond 300 yards or a little farther than that, it's going to get you pretty close. It is a second focal plane scope, so mind you do have to have that sucker cranked up on full power to utilize the BDC reticle. And it does have target turrets, although scopes in this class, especially with parts being made in China and in Japan, I'm generally not a guy that likes the big external turrets on them. But if you do want to employ a weapon with like a silencer or something, and you might have two different zeros, it's nice to have an externally adjustable turret where you can just mark it with a little silver Sharpie or something, and just crank it over for your suppressor zero, your silencer zero. And so that's a good deal. I don't generally do box tests on this grade of optic. That's in vain. And that's just reality. I mean, some guys say that they pass a box test and some guys say they don't. The reason there's argument on box testing results and scopes under $2,000 especially ones made in Asia, is because it's not a consistent test, because it's the quality control on some of that stuff. So you utilize the ballistic drop compensating reticle on any optic of this style. I don't care if it starts with a V and ends with an X, or if it's a PA scope or any of these other competitors. You know, the magic is going to be in other things, but not necessarily the turret adjustments. So if you basically need an all-purpose optic that you can drive over with your Humvee, park it on there for a while, and then drive off and then still use it, this is going to be one of your better choices for a reasonable price range. If you like the variable scope, you know, short of getting into a prismatic optic that's incredibly heavy duty, but if you like the conventional variable scope where you can, you know, have 1 to 4 power, this is a pretty good way to go. So check it out. If you haven't ever heard of Riton Optics, they're pretty cool guys. I do like the owner guy. He's kind of a patriot dude, and so go and support those fellas. And if, like I said, if you're a veteran, ask them about their veteran discount. They'll take care of you. Don't be anxious if you don't like it. Their warranty's incredible. All right, guys, Rex out. Have a good day.
Right on, man.
But she hits me, disassembles my leg. So I went to the doctor and he gave me a pain. Now she waits, slumber, just dreaming, pretty bad. Hope that she kills instead of leaving with me. Cause she's a minefield, she pops your body from your soul. Minefield, leave a big smoking hole. Minefield, please don't beat off my leg. Minefield, that little round thing over there? Get away!